Hi, everybody, and welcome to Module 7. It was a real pleasure to take a look at your drafts last week. And there are some exciting things going on, some great ideas for changing your communities. And I look forward to the final project. So what are we going to be doing here during Module 7? Let's take a walk through. Go ahead and click on the Modules button and scroll down until you see Module 7. As usual, we'll start with the overview. So click on the overview link and you'll see that what we'll be doing this week is predominantly working on revising your draft. So you're going to be applying the feedback that I gave you and the feedback that your peers gave you in order to revise your draft. And so if you take a look at the learning objectives, by the end of this module, you should be able to evaluate this feedback by identifying key suggestions on how to go about revising. And some of you forgot to include the PSA or advocacy ad, and so you'll want to make sure that you include that with your final product. Go ahead and click the next button, and you'll see that there are some Module 7 top hat materials to look through and to complete. So you should go ahead and do that before proceeding on with the module. Then you can click the next button. And you'll see that there are some additional learning materials this week. Now, these learning materials are here for you to read, watch, and learn, so no submission is required. They're just resources for proofreading and editing and doing some of those larger editing tasks, right? We're not going to be just doing sentence level editing where you're changing punctuation, wording, adding transitions, and so forth. We're going to be doing a global edit, a complete revision, looking over each of your paragraphs, making sure that you've included everything that you need, switching paragraphs around if things aren't working correctly, taking under advisement some of that feedback that you got. So it's more than just checking for grammar. And you can watch the video to show you how to do that. So go ahead and click the next button. And then you will see the problem solution proposal revised draft. So this is where you're going to start with the revising process. Notice that it might take approximately 4 to 5 hours, depending on the feedback you received and the amount of revisions that you need to do. Some of you turned in a very polished rough draft and don't have a lot of revisions. Others will need to work on this, and so it may take you longer. Just make sure you plan for that in your week. And so your revised draft is really the culmination of all the work you've completed so far. Think back to all those invention exercises you did, the research you conducted, feedback you've received. And so you're going to be taking all that in account while revising your draft. So if you look at the instructions, there's a few steps here for you to look over. There's a total of 4 steps, and then the submission requirements. Now, make sure if you did not do this during the rough draft process that you are addressing your letter or your memo to a person or a group of people. We really want to target that audience. We want to know exactly who that community is, because the way you write is going to be different depending on who you're appealing to. If you're appealing to policymakers, you're going to be using different language and a different way of structuring your arguments than you would if you're just addressing some volunteers, maybe at a local animal shelter. Again, the audience is going to determine how you create this final draft. And so think about your audience, what kind of language and tone you would be using, maybe a simplification for those that are not policymakers, maybe not as many references to scholarly research in a way that is think about the language that you're using. Think about what volunteers might understand in regards to legal language as opposed to policymakers who might have more experience with legal language. So just something to consider as you are revising. You'll notice there is a grading rubric. If you scroll down, you can take a look at all of those things and use this rubric as a check mark to make sure that you have done everything on this list to the best of your ability so that you could score the most amount of points for your final draft. And then you'll click the next button, and that'll take you right on to Module 8. And I'll be putting together another video for Module 8. It'll be a short one since we're almost done with the class. And so I hope you have a great week. And as always, if you have some trouble with revising or have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or your writing mentor.